And there we are. We should be live.
Hey.
It's been a while. I haven't done a stream or a video in months. It's been since before the holiday. Not even most of, all of the stuff that's been placed up on the channel on a pretty weekly basis has been a bunch of live plays or actual plays. And there's a method to that madness. So, the viewership on those is not fantastic, but that's whatever. I don't do it for that. I do it. Well, you'll see. There's a method to the madness. I'm here with Mike, and we're going to bring on the authors of the Beginner's 4D Handbook. Surprise, it's us. So we kind of wanted to know Crispy, Table Runner Crispy, and Nobody Wake the Bugbear podcast, and there was a third one. Erudite DM. They have all very graciously taken a look at the handbook. Erudite DM did so with us. He took a look at it with us. And so we just kind of wanted to throw our own take up there from like an internal perspective, from the minds of, and kind of review why we did it, and the reason we did it the way that we did, the reason the information that you find in there is found in there. So the Beginner's 4D Handbook is available now on DriveThruRPG. It is 100% free. You can download it. And it's the link's in the description, so you can go and download it right now while you're listening to us if you like. But so let's say hi to everyone. Oh, hey. Hello, Tom. Thanks for showing up, man. I appreciate it. This is pretty great. We have in the chat Elf Hunter. I'm here ready to support you guys with my measly view. It's not measly. Knock that off.
Every view matters.
Yes. We have Zarian13. Hello. How are you? We have this idiot.
Yeah.
We have actually some comments running at the moment, so let's go through these before we get started.
Yeah. If there's questions along the path, I'm sure we can answer them too.
Yeah, for sure. So Zarian says, if Bacon ever does a revision, I want to make sure that I'm very forcefully clear about this. It's Bacon and Mike. This started off as Mike's project. I kind of tacked myself on, but we'll get into that in a minute. If Bacon ever does a revision, or if they ever do a revision, they should add a section about running games one-on-one to highlight how eliminating table talk makes for a more serious and focused game. That's not a bad idea. However, I am entirely unpracticed with regard to one-on-one games. But I will tell you that both Elf Hunter, currently here in the chat, and Adept Austin run these types of games, and they are excellent games. So if you want to really see how they apply the principles to their own one-on-one games, couldn't recommend them more. And that's both Adept Austin and Elf Hunter. And then he follows up with, also, Crispy's unsolicited advice is making it hard for me to enjoy AP videos. I've become very picky. I have a very similar experience to you.
Me too.
Elf Hunter says all APs suck. Now go watch my APs. There's a little bit of conversation back and forth. Hello. How are you? Chthonic Musings, nice to have you. And it looks like we're all caught up, so we can kind of just jump in. Mike.
Yeah.
I'm going to put you on the spot. How did this come about? Because that you really are the origin point.
I guess, it's funny to think back on it, because at the time it didn't seem like I was doing much, but now all this time later, and here we are. But what happened is I started getting interested in 4D because I heard Bacon on another channel, Heath's Geekverse, and I heard him mentioning some 4D things, and so I reached out to pick his brain about it, and he turned me on to a bunch of videos. And so I do what I normally do when I start learning something new. I start taking copious notes on the topic, and so I took a ton of notes. And then the next thing I do when I'm learning something new is I take those notes and I boil them down into some sort of outline or meaningful relationship. And when I did that, I then looked, figured, James would take a look. So I shipped it over to James and I said, "Hey, take a look at what I did here. What do you think? Am I missing something? Is there, what have you?"
Yeah, and I think the idea was, pardon for the interruption.
No,
I
go.
think the idea was that I was like the closest touch point that you had for 4D, that
Right,
like, because you and I already had rapport, we were already
right,
friends, we were already discussing things. So it was like, hey, I kind of watched Crispy's videos. I've been in the Discord. I've seen some things that they're discussing. Here are the notes that I have. Would you take a look and see whether or not it's correct? Because the plan wasn't necessarily to publish. The
right,
plan was to implement. And so
right.
you wanted to make sure that you had, at least I don't know. I think when you first came to me, it's like, well, I don't know if I'm the best resource, and I still don't know if I'm the best resource. But the idea was to come to me to at least shore up, what I could shore up, so that you
Right.
could then go ahead and implement in your own games at home. So,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I found the idea really intriguing and I wanted to make sure I was doing it right. And the problem, of course, both a great thing about 4D and a problem with 4D is that it's a moving target,
mhm.
right? Is, you're gathering it from various videos, you're gathering it from various conversations, you're gathering it from various Discord things, and you sort of have to build a mental model of what this 4D thing is in your head. And so I was trying to do that so I could implement some of the ideas in my own games and my own play style. And yeah, you are 100% correct. That was more of it started out as here's a how to guide for myself.
Right, and then I think once I got done with it, I said, "Hey, do you have plans for this? You're gonna publish this? This is really good." And you, I think, responded with a yes. I think you responded with an affirmative. You said, "Well, I mean, now that I have it, and yeah, we'll see if we can get something out there about it."
Right.
And then I just kind of snuck in and said, "Well, hey, I could publish it with you. I'm an editor, and I can do layout." And so I kind of snuck in there with you.
You did, but
But then go
you
ahead, go ahead.
I have to say though that bringing you on board not only has been wonderful as far as the end product, but wonderful in as far of the experience of doing it. If I was doing this on my own, it would have been a grind versus having a friend and partner in the experience has made it much more of a joy.
Well, thank you. I absolutely agree with that. I find that this collaboration in particular very, very successful. I'm very pleased with the working relationship, with the outcome, with the work ethic. I'm very like it's a very, I don't know. I'm losing my train of thought again. It's been a while, I guess. It's just been a very fulfilling
Yeah,
circumstance, very fulfilling, situation with the collaboration and actually getting the thing published, and the response that we've had, which has been fantastic.
fantastic. Yeah,
It's really been really, really good. And
yeah.
so, we are looking to, just to let everyone know, we are looking to additional projects. This is only the first one.
Hmm.
I think that, no, we haven't really nailed anything down yet, so it's nothing specific, but we're
Right,
leaning toward a more creative project,
right.
as the next one. So we'll see how that pans out. There's a bunch of ideas that we have. Kind of have a bunch of conversations that we need to have to evaluate ideas, and we've maybe begun that a little bit. Um, but
Yeah.
not really in earnest, which
No,
is
no, no.
fine because I think we both need like a moment to like
Yeah.
just rest for a minute. At least I do. I'm not going to speak for you, but I
No,
certainly am happy to rest.
I am always happy to talk about ideas because in the land of role playing games, ideas are cheap. It's the execution that matters. So when we
Yes.
kick around ideas together, that's an easy thing to do. It's when I start putting keyboard to virtual paper that is when the things get difficult.
Yes. I find myself in a similar situation, but I think that, we hold each other accountable,
Yeah.
but that's not why they didn't come here for a love fest between us two. They came to hear about why but I've told you several times.
Yeah.
So the why initially was to implement, and then it became sort of to disseminate. And
Hmm.
as we move forward with this, like, there was, and I don't know, maybe I'm bringing this up out of turn. Maybe I should wait a little bit, but I'm here
No, go
now,
ahead.
so I'm just going to go for it. There was the initial plan was to have it out and downloadable before Christmas,
Yeah.
and we had submitted to Drive Through RPG over the holiday, and we didn't expect them to approve it really until maybe a little after the holiday. I forget exactly what the timetable was. You might be more familiar with that because you fielded all the emails and stuff. Um, but there came a time where we said, okay, submit to Drive Through for approval, and they said, what did they say? 5 days to 2 weeks,
Something like
something like
that.
that.
Yeah, yeah, because of the holidays.
Right, and then I think like 2 or 3 days after submitting, I contacted you and was like, "Hey, you're gonna kill me, but we need we need a major revision on this thing," because the more I thought about it, the more I read over the document that I had, the less sense including certain things made.
Yeah.
There were some misunderstandings on my part that I wanted to eliminate entirely.
Mhm.
I didn't want to put them out into the public. I thought it was a bad move. Um, and then on top of that, there was like some theory stuff, because of course there was.
Mhm.
It's us. There was some theory stuff that like just it didn't belong in a beginner's
Right.
handbook.
Right.
Like there are other places that, and we have all of this stuff. Maybe we'll return to it at a later date, but at the moment, it wasn't helpful to people who wanted to come in and try it at their table. And it was also the tone, in fact, needed some major banging on. There was a stretch of days where I reread it from start to finish. I went through the entire document and just edited the tone
Mhm.
because it wasn't as beginner friendly, or even maybe in some places it just wasn't beginner friendly. And I wanted to change that because the idea is here, this is what we're talking about when we use the term 4D. Take this and do with it what you will. It's like
Right.
it's just putting it out into the world. And the vast majority of these ideas aren't ours.
Nope.
They come from Crispy. They come from, Phil. They come from these other sources through all of these different conversations that they've had via Discord, which moves really fast. So good luck finding anything, or YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to kind of put that all in a single searchable document. And we even say so in the book. We wanted it in a single searchable document for ease of use. And so that if anyone had any questions, we could be like, hey, here.
Right.
So
It's
a
the
lot of it is I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
Go
I
ahead.
was gonna say
Because I'll keep going.
it's the handbook that, in essence, I was.
Hey, what's
Hey,
up, Blackwall? How you doing, man? It's nice to see you. We need to finish making that alien species. I was actually just thinking about you the other day. I got an email that I have to send you. Sorry about that, Mike. Go ahead.
no, that's okay. It's the handbook that I would have wanted Bacon to have given me when I started asking questions and sniffing around 4D. Right? That's kind of what the goal was, is to be that beginner friendly intro that gives a stable point in time for all the jargon and, more importantly, the concepts, the ideas, the principles that make up this thing we call 4D. So yeah, when we started out, we had a bunch of goals, and the goals really were about making it beginner friendly. And when you had that gut response to the book and worried that I was going to be angry about it, my response was, no, I gotta, we got to go with the gut, and it's no big deal, and let's do the rewrite. And that is because two things. Number one, it's kind of a lesson, for the whole thing. You got to keep on shooting for those goals, and if your gut's telling you you're not hitting those goals for some reason, then you can't put it out, because other people, their gut's going to speak to them too.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yes.
yeah. And I think the other lesson of that for us in general was that, it's okay to sort of stall time wise if it produces a better product.
Yes. Like, and it wasn't a hard deadline. Obviously, it
No,
was just
no,
it was a self-imposed deadline, and
right.
I am wonderful on meeting those. Let me tell you, I think every deadline I set in 2025 for myself, I just blew right past. This one was a little bit different because there was there was like, we'll call it statistically significant changes that need to be made. There were sizable amount. Like, we ended up, was it 2 chapters that we
Yeah,
removed
yeah,
and then plugged in completely different information, but was much more beginner friendly.
yeah.
So for example, the chapter that we have on the history of in character,
Mhm.
and I refer to Peterson, or we refer to Peterson, pardon me, I got to stop doing that. Still haven't learned to stop doing that. We refer to Peterson, love his work or hate it. In this particular situation, it really shows the history of
Mhm.
in character play, the ideas that were being discussed prior to the creation of the role playing game hobby. And so we kind of tried to establish 4D as sort of just, it's another perspective on this long standing tradition of
Right,
how to more satisfyingly play in character.
right.
That was part of the revision. That didn't exist
R
in the original copy of the book.
right, right.
And then also, but it provides that perspective. And the idea was to, well, and I mean, you can read all this in the book, but like, we don't want to tell anyone how to play. We don't want to tell anyone, there
Right.
is no one best way. And
No.
we don't want to shut anyone out for any reason. And so that is where the, what do we call it? Trade-offs and pitfalls. That's
Mhm.
where that chapter came from. It was like, hey, there are some legitimate things that we should address with this style so that
Mhm.
people can expect, like, because there can be frustration, there can be some measure of incongruency that takes place at a
Absolutely.
table when you're trying to, change the way that you're playing. And so the idea was to prep people to see what could maybe happen. And we say we can't cover everything.
Right,
We don't know what's going to happen at your table. We don't know the different people at the table. We don't know how they're going to react to it. We don't know. We just don't know. Maybe the table is just not a good fit for
right,
this particular way to get into character. There are many other ways to get into character. So by all means, you can do it.
right.
But and there have been reports of groups that you and I have been a part of,
Mhm.
both together and independently. There have been other groups that we've observed that have made comments on what it was they didn't like, what it was
Mhm.
that wasn't a good fit for them. And so we wanted to mention that, and that was also a part of the revision,
Right,
because we wanted to make sure that the tone was for beginners, right? So here's all this information that you can use, but here are the benefits, but then also here are some trade-offs, some pitfalls.
right.
And on the pitfalls, we even, I think, give suggestions
We do.
of
I
how,
think that
not necessarily how to avoid it, but to avoid it. Like, please avoid this. Don't let this
right.
happen.
Or ways in which, you can mitigate the problem somewhat in different
Hmm.
ways, which I think was important too, because once again, the whole tone of the book is meant to be this introduction. It's also meant to be a toolkit, in the sense that you can take and pick and choose from it what works for you or what works for your group. There's no reason that you have to take the whole kit and caboodle or nothing, right? It's not an all or nothing proposition.
Right.
So,
Now it
some
can
of
be,
this,
it can be like, if you want
yeah,
to do it all, you can do it all. If you don't want to do any of it, by all means, you don't have to. It's,
absolutely.
but it's also incremental. You can say, well, I want to take these specific pieces and implement them in my game,
Right,
and you can do that.
right. We and the thing is that, I mean, when we were writing the handbook, the we had goals in mind that we kept on shooting for, one of which was that approachability. And so the
Yeah.
revision that we did was a huge step in making things much more approachable, I think, in both language and in sort of concept.
I agree with that, and in fact, to the point where, and you can watch the erudite DM interview
Yeah.
discussion, whatever it was. You can watch that. He actually, it was so noticeable, it was so forward that he said we could probably even tone it back in
Yeah.
places. Which is, I get what he's saying. I'm glad that we came across that way, though. I'm
Right.
glad that it's, if there's anything in this book that I am okay with being in your face as a reader, It's that idea that it's approachable. We're not telling you how to do anything. We're not telling you you need to do X in order to produce Y. Like I wanted to completely steer clear of that language and just give you the concepts that you can
Right.
then read and implement. And so if there's anything that comes off as in your face about the book, I'm glad that it was that, because
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
was really the goal. That was the goal.
Absolutely. It was, and the thing is too is that we're trying to get more people to role play, period. Just let's get more people in the hobby.
Yeah. Yep.
One of the nice things is 4D is one of those in routes to it, but once again, it's not the only way, and it may not fit for you. So I'm happy that we stress that point, to even maybe to a fault.
Yeah. Yes. We have some comments coming in.
All right, let's
So
take a look.
let's start here. Elf Hunter. This stream's like going backstage to interview the All Stars. I don't know about that, but I appreciate it, and we'll take the compliment.
Thanks, Elf Hunter.
Zarian says it's obvious it's a work of love. It's very well written and gets the point across quite clearly. I am very grateful for that.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Yeah, it
Um,
is. I mean, let's be honest. It was a work of passion that, for the RPG hobby as a whole.
yes, yes. Um, Again, Zarian says, I think you did a great job explaining not just the methodology, but also the concepts behind them. The examples, especially, are very well done. That was all Mike. I edited them, but those examples are all, well, mostly his. I think maybe I
Mostly,
have one or two in there. Mostly
yeah,
they're his, though. So he nailed it. He really, really
yeah.
nailed it.
It's funny because when I'm writing examples, I wanted to make them instructive, but like worth reading, like at least interesting to some degree.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes finding that balance is tough. Like we had some examples we had to cut down
Mm-hmm.
because they were just too long. And I mean, entertaining, sure, but they were just too long, and they were more instructive in a more concentrated amount. But no, I appreciate it. I'm glad the examples were worthwhile because I thought they were super important to include because they illustrate the points. I think in some ways, in a way that is like, well, see here, here's what's going on, and I think that's really important to do, especially when you're learning.
Yeah. And I think the fact that you are a teacher, you teach. And so I think uh, I'm stumbling over my words. It's incredibly apparent that you're a teacher because of the way that you went about presenting the information and providing an example, and presenting an information and providing the example, and the engaging examples, how they are very clearly embodiments of the concepts that came
Thank you.
before. Some of the layout, and this is on me because I did the layout, some of the layout is a little weird with that because of how it flows. And I've gotten some suggestions on that. Lord Mattias, for example, said, I think it was Lord Mattias, said that it might have been better had we just gone with a full page instead of
Mm,
the newspaper columns. Um, and so we'll explore that for next time for sure. But who
yeah,
knows what size and format the next project will take. Um,
you never know.
yeah, who knows? Who knows? We'll see. But we will keep that in mind. And the G Funk Rescue Crew says, "Congrats on the book. It's an amazing resource. Proud to be
Thank
able
you.
to recommend this to anyone interested in role playing." Well, I am again deeply grateful for the compliment and that you would recommend that to
Oh
people.
yeah, appreciate that. I, I've
So
been I've been if you go to the drive-through page where the book is available for download,
for
uh,
free.
for free, and you take a look. I've been impressed with the reviewers because I don't know any of the reviewers from anyone,
Hmm.
and the reviewers have been saying some really great things about how they're using ideas in their groups, or how they're taking ideas from this, to and encouraging other people to download it and things like this. So that has been a real gift as well. Just hearing that from strangers basically.
Yeah, I completely agree. Not that I'm hawking the page, refreshing it feverishly, trying to see if there's another review. Is there another review? Is there another review? I'm kidding. I don't do that. Um, yeah. So, well, what else? Gosh, we
Well,
did the why, right? We are
yep,
the who.
we
We
are the
we
who.
did the what.
We did the
We
where.
The where is on drive through.
Correct. How about the how?
Oh, that's a good one. Let's do the how.
Yeah,
So, and this is a question that we've gotten a couple of times,
it
right?
has.
So,
Yeah,
what do we use to write it? And what do we use for layout? So,
right.
I used, oh, and these are, oh, I did not include this link in the description. I will, once we end, go back and re-add the link to the description for the template that we used. Um, so the how was Google Docs. We just
Mhm,
you put everything in a Google Doc and shared it out to me, and we that's where it began, and that's where all of the brainstorming took place. That's where most of the editing took place. That's where all of the I'll say co-writing took place because there
mhm,
are sections where you and I kind of banged on it together.
mhm.
Um,
A lot. Yeah.
so yeah, yeah. So that's where all that took place because Google Docs is really great for a collaborative writing. If it were just me, and I don't even know why I'm mentioning this, it doesn't matter. It wasn't just me, but like if it's a personal project, I usually use Scrivener. It's as far as I'm concerned, the just the best word processing um, application out there for whatever you need it for movie scripts, manuscripts for books, keeping things organized. If you're writing a role-playing game, you can keep your sections organized. You can arrange it in chapter and sub. It's just an excellent application for keeping things straight. It's not software as a service. It's a license. You download it once, and then the
Mhm.
updates are free forever, which I much prefer to software as a service. I do not like software as a service. Um, but that's what everything is these days. So when I can find something that's just buying a license, I'll jump at it.
Sure.
And then for layout, we used Affinity 2 Publisher.
Well,
Now this is,
to give
huh?
credit where credit's due, you used Affinity Publisher. I have no idea how to use
Well, there was
Affinity.
there was some sessions where we did it together. You
No,
sat
that's
in and I
true.
was moving things around. So it was, there was a bit of collaboration, but okay,
That's
fine.
true. But
Mostly it
you
was
were
me.
layout king. I offered opinions here and there. I checked links. I did other things, but for the most part, layout was basically all you. And I think you did a bang up job of it.
Well, thank you. There are some places that I need to improve, but it's been a very long time since because I used to be a professional desktop publisher or
Hmm.
publisher, I should say, and so I used InDesign. There are some things that don't transfer over. There are some features that are a little different. So there's things that I need to learn still. I think that's apparent. Like if you're looking at it really close, you can see some things aren't lining up. Gapping is a little bit bigger in some places, but whatever. Um,
Well, now I'm
so
going
we
to take
used
a
Affinity
ruler to
2
it.
to lay it out, and the template that I used, well, and this was intentional, was the template that is available in the Arcane Library FAQ for third-party publishing of Shadow Dark.
Hmm.
There is the link to a ready-made Affinity Publisher template. Now, I purchased Affinity. I've purchased the suite before it went free, and this is a while before it went free. But I believe you can grab Affinity for free now. So you can just
Hmm.
you can pull down Publisher and Photo and Designer, and that's what we used along
Hmm.
with this ready-made template. Now the template was modified heavily, but it's better to start with something than from scratch
Right.
because if you're starting with something, if you have some kind of template, that's much easier to create a document from than having to first create the template and your master pages and all that stuff. So I grabbed that. It looks like stuff that's already out on the market kind
Hmm.
of. That's why we did the A5 sizing, but I mean it's not in print yet. We're considering this. There's some things that have to sort of we have to get some ducks in a row before that happens.
Right.
But we've gotten a lot of requests for a print version, so we're gonna
Right.
try to do that. Um, and then that was it. That's it. That's all we have. So I will include links to. I guess I should include a link to Affinity as well,
May
so that
as
you can
well.
download it and then the template. But if you're interested, it's not a difficult program to use if you're familiar with InDesign. If you're not familiar with InDesign, it's not a difficult program to learn. It's a dumb program. It literally only does what you tell it to, so you have to learn how to tell it what to do. But there are a mess of tutorials and
Yeah.
YouTube videos. Like there are people out there who just focus on telling you how to use Affinity. You can go to Google and just say, "Hey, how do I do this in Affinity Publisher?" And it'll tell you. It will return links. I mean, you know how Google works. Why am I telling you how Google works? You can run a Google search for it. You'll get some hits.
Yeah.
Um,
Plenty of them.
yeah, but that's what we used. We used Affinity 2 and Google Docs. And that is probably going to be the way that we continue forward with whatever other projects
Yeah.
that we'd go for. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's I think those tools work for us based on what we needed. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
if we stumble across better tools at some point, I'm not against switching to something that serves our purposes better. But for now, those things work really well.
Well, I am against it because I paid for Affinity, so I'm going to keep using Affinity. Damn it.
No, I'm just
But
saying.
no, that's not true. If we find something that's just better, maybe it's more intuitive, maybe it has better features. I mean, I'm happy to switch. I don't
Yeah.
mind at all. But
Yeah.
for the moment, that's what we're
Yep.
using.
For the moment. Yep. Absolutely. Um, what do you think was the most surprising thing about the project for you? Like, what stood out as sort of a something you didn't expect that kind of came out of doing this?
Um. Oh, I know what I didn't expect. I didn't expect people. So we went and deep sixed the rating system. It's not
Hmm.
really a rating system. The game qualifications, right? We
Hmm.
went and while there are people who still use that for sure,
Hmm.
we decided not to, and we decided not to because we didn't want to in a beginner's document for sure, but generally we didn't want to be in the business of rating other people's games or judging other people's games. And in my experience, every time this came up in conversation, that became the focus. Okay, well, you're clearly judging other people's games. What are the criteria for the judgment? That absolutely would dominate any conversation where they
Hmm.
came up in, and I wanted to eliminate that. But
Hmm.
that's not what surprised me. What surprised me was is that when we dropped the book, there were very many other people who were on board with that. They were like,
Yeah.
"Yep, let's get rid of it. We don't need to do this. It's not it we shouldn't have been doing it. It doesn't work. Let's just look, it's 4D. The name has a history. This is a part of the history of the name, but at the moment, as it stands, 4D is just the name of the style. It's not a qualification. It is not dimensions of role play. It is just the name of this particular style and all the elements of that style that contribute to it. And I was very very shocked that that was the reaction because I thought we were going to get beat up about that,
Yeah.
and I thought we were going to get beat up about including Dungeons and Dragons in the game as a recommended game to do 4D in.
A
And with that, we took a little flack on.
little bit.
But my view is that, or our view is that Dungeons and Dragons is the, like it or not, it's the biggest one out there.
Right.
And
Big fish
I
in the
was
sea here.
just, I'm not going to lock out 90% of the field because I don't happen to play Dungeons and Dragons. That's all there is to it. I want people to be able to do this with whatever game they choose to do it with. And
Yeah.
heck, man, there are people who have done 4D Dungeons and Dragons play.
Oh
There
yeah.
are people who are currently doing 4D Pathfinder play. So,
Indeed.
like, it's possible. You can do it.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. The opening of the book really made a strong case for finding a new name for the style. I get it. I appreciate that. And, there are several people who don't really like the name. In fact, I think one of the reviews that we got at
Yes.
Drive Through was like, I don't like the name 4D. You shouldn't have used it. And I guess there is something else we could have done, but that name has been around since before us, right?
Right.
Like we are just using what was available, and that it's stuck. People know it as 4D. People talk about it as 4D, and so that's what we used. So, is there maybe the possibility of there being a name change further down the line, like, I don't know. I think it's the genie's already out of the bottle. Like,
Right.
it's already out in the wild. People are already going to call it 4D. So love it or hate it, it's sticking,
It's
and that's kind of just what we got to work with.
I think also in the elusive shift in the Peterson book that we use,
Hmm.
they mention, so 4D as a name precedes our use of it.
Yes, it does. Yes,
But
it does.
because in the elusive shift, they mentioned that the fourth dimension or the 4D of wargaming was role playing. And
Yes.
I pointed it out to you because I was like, oh, look at that.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's
Kind
pretty
of
funny. So,
funny.
like,
Yeah.
and that we didn't necessarily put, well, not necessarily,
We
we
did
didn't
put,
include that in the book, but
yeah,
we did say, hey, if you're interested in this, go read Peterson's book.
it's a good
Um,
book.
it is. It's very good. And yeah, the use of the term 4D precedes or predates this style.
Right.
It's just kind of oddly serendipitous. Now, I don't know the reasoning behind choosing that term. All I know is that it was chosen and how it
Hmm.
was used as we relate in the book, but it could very well have been chosen because of that reason. So I
Yeah.
don't know. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's the name. It's stuck. It predates us. It predates, heck, it predates even the 4D style for
Right.
being being a reference to role playing.
Right.
So that's what we got. That's what we're using. Zarian says, I used to do very immersive games with AD&D 2E, but 2E is a different beast than 5E. Yes. Hard to
Hmm.
do theater of the mind combat with 5E. It was easy with 2E. I find minis combat kills immersion dead. Um, I think mileage is gonna vary on that. I would personally agree. I think that even in a VTT, I struggle to not focus on the map and the little pieces moving around, and it's difficult to really get into. For me, I'm applying this to myself and myself only. This is not a general statement, but I find it difficult to, when I'm able to just move a piece on the map. Well, I
Hmm.
don't have to describe anything. I don't have to
Hmm.
describe my movement. I moved it on the map. That's like, there are other people who I've seen play who are way better at that than I am.
Yeah.
And so that's maybe a skill that I can shore up. I can, get more practiced at it. And I'm in very, I'll say, several games that are using VTTs, and I'm
Hmm.
not knocking VTTs. That's not what I'm doing here. I'm just saying that if we're talking about in character play and describing your actions and
Yeah.
anchoring in the scene, I find the VTTs are a struggle for me.
I have the same experience mostly because I'm very inexperienced with VTTs. Like I only recently started using them to, play games with people online. And I am, a neophyte at best when it comes to their use and what they can do. And I do find myself falling into certain bad habits, if you will. Like, I move my piece over here like it's a board game, and I don't really describe my movement, or I don't describe anything contextual about that movement other than, well, now I'm 3 paces over or something. So yeah, I can appreciate that.
Yeah,
And
and
I
I
also
find
think
that. Oh,
there's
I'm sorry. Go
perfect,
ahead.
no, that's okay. I also think, and Crispy raises this as well, but you have perfect information in a combat when you're looking down at the map. And that I think also sort of kills a little bit of the immersion because I'm trying to be this piece looking out at the field of what's going on around me. But as a player, as a person, I'm looking down at the map like a commander would. And
Yeah,
that's sometimes hard for me to transpose my mind between those two.
yeah, yep. And I agree. I have that difficulty as well. And I am sure that there are those who prefer that and can do it. I'm just not well practiced at it. So I'm not saying do or do not. What I'm saying is, personally, and I feel
Hmm.
like I've said that 7 times now. I'm very cautious about making sure I'm not making general statements. That's gotten me into trouble in the past.
Indeed.
So Zarian says, the biggest issue I have with minis is that all combat description stops. Watching APs with minis immediately shows how that happens. It just becomes a math conversation. I have that will definitely happen in some games. Yes. Um, is it? Well, I don't know. Does it have to be every game? I don't know. I'm sure there are games out there where they're still very animated and
Mhm,
interested in describing exactly how they're moving. All I know is that when I have, and it's a crutch for me. So when I
mhm,
say, okay, I'll take my piece and I'll move it there. I don't need to describe anything. You watch me move it.
mhm.
You don't need to know how I walked. You don't need to know whatever. I walked over there. You saw me move my piece. That's all there is to it. And
Yeah.
that's something that I need to, get over. And that's specifically for, I would think, more in character focused styles that, how to say this? Because I know that they're like in the OSR, I know that the war game lineage of Dungeons and Dragons and role playing games
Yeah.
becomes foregrounded. It becomes important, right? So
Yeah.
in those types of games, it becomes very important for you to be able to have that information on the battlefield, to be able to make those decisions as a commander. So I don't know how. Well, I'm just going to shut my mouth then, because I don't know how to say it without angering someone. Like, whatever. I'm letting it off.
Wha
That can fall off a cliff. I'm stopping there.
One of the things I wanted to, talk about that I guess we haven't, but it's worth noting, is why the inclusion of the Nutshell RPG in the download. And
Yes.
by the way, if chat has questions for us, feel free to post them. We'll get
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah. Toss them out there.
But what happened, the beginning of this was that I was, well, Bacon was busy editing with things. I was busy reading and rereading, thinking, left to my own devices, I try to focus that into something productive. And so I, was like, well, let me put something together here. And I started, iterating on this game idea, and I put this together in a few hours. And then I showed it to Bacon. And I said, what are you thinking about including this? I said, I almost feel bad talking about a beginner's guide to 4D without giving them some way to try to play 4D right out of the box, if you will, you know? And to Bacon's credit, he was like, this is great. And we play tested it, it quite a bit and made a bunch of adjustments and included it as its own thing too. And one of the things that I was really pleasantly surprised by with the Nutshell playtests was just how easy it was for people to get up and running on it. Like, it didn't take more than a minute of explanation for anything, and to people to internalize the roles and the interpretation thereof. So that was always nice.
Yeah, and I the reason I was so pro that decision is because we talk about in the beginning, in the introduction, about praxis being the most important thing
Right.
to learning, at least. Well, whatever. I'm not making ancillary statements. I'm just going to drive ahead. And putting a lightweight game, along with the book, that doesn't have the accompanying pressure of a long running campaign,
Right.
that you're trying to change the style, or you're trying to, maybe you are dissatisfied with how combat's running in your campaign. Without any of that, we just say, hey, here's a really quick game.
Hmm.
It's easy to learn. It's easy to use. Just give it a shot. Play for an hour and a half, 90 minutes, 2 hours. Give it a shot. And I think, I don't know. I just, that idea in and of itself, I thought was it really kind of helped speak to this idea that we really just want people to play, right?
Right.
We want you to play. We want you to use the ideas in the book for good or ill. Maybe you hate their guts. That's fine. Hate their guts. No
Right.
problem. No problem. But we wanted to give an opportunity to do that was, again, uncoupled from a campaign that had been ongoing for years or months or weeks, that you didn't really want to mess with in that way. And so we included it, and I felt it worked pretty good.
Yeah, I was really, I had great time in our play tests, and I figure if people have, you know, you use it half as well, they'll really enjoy it.
I agree. Hey, thanks, Uriah.
Yeah.
I super love the combat too. If I can, I guess say that. I don't know, live feels a little weird to do that, but
I need
there it
nutshell
is.
merch.
I love the opposed roles. Yeah, right here, the nutshell merch.
Yeah. Yeah.
We questioned calling it nutshell because I don't know why. I think we kicked around a whole bunch of other names,
Because the
and it
name
took
came too easily.
yeah, the name came really easily, and it felt like just a placeholder.
Right.
But man, it took us. We were for days. We went through. Oh, well, what about this? Oh, well, what about that? Let's put a list of names here and see what feels good.
Hundreds
Yes,
of
it was a
ideas.
lot. It was a lot, and then eventually it was like, nutshell really does encapsulate
What we're doing.
what we
Yeah.
want it to.
Yeah.
And it was like lightning in a bottle. It's just like, yeah, I guess we did it on the first try. I don't know. I don't know. We like it anyway. So Zarian has a question here.
Sure.
Any tips on how to use meta currency or other meta mechanics without disrupting immersion too much? My answer to that is yes. There are a bunch of easy D6 games that first I'm going to preface this answer. Um, it's going to depend on the game and precisely what the meta currency is asking you to do
Right.
and how it's asking you to do it. But with things like Karma for Easy D6, there are several games that are done in 4D that you can go and search up. One of them is the IIS games. There are some Shadow Dark games. There are or not Shadow Dark, because that wouldn't be Easy D6, would it?
No.
There are some other easy D6 games that you can search up on like Table Runner Crispy's channel, and there are other channels out there, which are all listed in the back of the book. So you can just go through those channels and see what easy D6 games are available. And then you can see how meta currency is dealt with without breaking those in character moments or being as not how to say this.
Less intrusive.
Yeah, less intrusive. Like the attempt is to make it not as minimally disruptive as possible. And a lot of that has to do with just offloading that responsibility to the players and trusting them to do it.
Yeah. I was going to say that to me, meta currency comes down to like every other mechanic. You want to be brief, you want to be topical, and you want to trust the players that they implemented things appropriately. And I think, I think sometimes in like a session 0, if the meta currency is particularly invasive in some way, you might even talk about how to handle it as a table so that it doesn't get in the way as much.
Indeed. Captain Conway says, I was watching the Erudite DM interview and saw this was live. Hey, well, thanks for coming on by. And then he says, why did you not post this in the Crusade channel? This is some great material for it. Because I'm awful at promoting my own stuff. That's the reason. So G Funk Rescue Crew says the Nutshell RPG is a great nod to the Traveler lineage. I agree, and that was all Mike. That was really I did some editing. We made some suggestions during play testing, but that was really all him.
Yeah, I really I mean the Traveler system is one of those systems that is used in 4D a lot, so I thought I'd build off of that, basic chassis, if you will.
Yes. Elf Hunter says, makes me think of Kurzgesagt. I don't know what that is, but I will trust that it makes you think of that. Picking a system name is indeed the hardest part. I agree. It was not easy, even though we kind of landed on, like we hole in one it, but it still wasn't easy sort of allowing ourselves to admit that we got it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because when the idea between us, when we were thinking about renaming it, I don't know how many names I put on Discord for you, but at some point I was just digging the bottom of the well with with possibilities.
Oh, no, I remember doing the same thing. It was like, "Okay, here's a list of, like, 12, and
Yeah.
then here's another list of 13," and we were just kinda spitballing and seeing what stuck, and eventually, I think we got it narrowed down to a couple of them, but
Yeah.
none of them felt as good as Nutshell, and it's
Yeah.
like, it is what it says on the tin, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It just made sense.
It made sense, right?
So we are, it looks like nearing an hour. Wow, there's 20 people watching. That's awesome.
Hey,
Thank you
awesome.
all for coming in and um hanging out and asking your questions and
Yeah.
participating in chat. Mike, I don't have much else to say. Do you have anything else you want to add?
Unless Chad has questions, I got nothing. I think we
Yeah.
covered it.
All right, cool. Well, unless I see something pop up in the next like 3-ish seconds, I think that this is a good place to end.
Sounds
This
good.
is
Thank
kind of
you,
like the
everybody, for
whole
watching.
huh?
Thanks, everybody, for watching.
Yes, thank you all for being here, participating. Um, and that's really it. I am so out of practice with this. I don't even remember how I used to end things. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you in the next one, whenever that happens to be. So again, thank you all, and we'll see you soon. I mean, there's going to be more coming from us, and I have videos planned, so I'm actually going to get back to the whole, video essay format. So I guess look forward to those, and again, thank you, and we'll see you in the next one.